Well, thank you very much, David, and it's a great pleasure to be here and be at the Resolution Foundation in your wonderful, glorious, extremely comfortable setting. There is no more comfortable think tank in Westminster. And that you think about the comfort of your speakers and your participants, and also very much the comfort of your guests. The striking changes in the politics of the new decade are brought to light in the slides that you just showed. And one of the striking changes, now that Brexit is delivered, is that the NHS is at the top of concerns of voters. And the critical task that we have is to deliver on the commitments that we made in the manifesto and deliver on the commitments to our new voters. We never tire of saying that the people who voted Conservative, including for the first time in large numbers, they in many cases lent us their vote, and we must not and will not take that for granted. But there's a difference and a different change, I think, that isn't quite brought out by the graphs and by the polling, which is a change in how we think about the communities that we serve. And I think this is a deeper rooted change, and very interesting in terms of how we're then trying to deliver policy, especially for the areas who felt let down in the past and may have felt left behind, and who are looking to us to deliver on the commitments that we made. And the way I think about it is this. I come from Nottinghamshire mining stock. I grew up in a northern city. And when I was growing up in Chester in the 1990s, those who were aspirational were essentially aspirational to leave and to come down south. And Thatcherism, which you mentioned, was essentially about aspiration for individuals. And all of the policies that you mentioned were policies about how an individual or a family could get on. But instead, we need to be aspirational for whole communities and the individuals within them. And this is different. You see, in politics, a phrase like aspiration is something that many people can latch onto and say, of course, we're the party of aspiration. But the truth is that if you're aspirational for whole communities, and the way I think about it is aspirational for people's hometowns, you have to ensure that you support the capability of people in those communities to build up that community so that people can be aspirational to want to stay and make their hometown, their community, even stronger. So this is a distinction, and it underpins the levelling up agenda, which is at the heart of the new government. And the levelling up agenda, in turn, underpins a whole range of the commitments that we made in the manifesto. And it is an attitude as well as a set of policy objectives. This is also true in health, of course. Levelling up is not just about transport and broadband, although these things are important. It's also about education, and that's absolutely critical to get right for the long term. But if there's anything that matters more in terms of levelling up, surely it must be in our healthy life expectancy. Because the gaps in healthy life expectancy are vast. In Richmond, which has the highest healthy life expectancy at birth of 72 for men, Chester, where I'm from, is 66. Blackpool has the lowest at 53. For women, the highest life expectancy, healthy life expectancy, is in Wokingham at 72, and the lowest is in Nottingham at 54. Now, places like Blackpool and parts of Nottingham are places that we are increasingly winning. I should have found out the Bolton number, knowing that you were going to be here. But the age gap between local authorities of the highest and lowest healthy life expectancy is almost 20 years. So if levelling up means that we improve the local community, of course it must mean levelling up a healthy life expectancy too. And that means a whole series of interventions, particularly focused on the areas where the healthy life expectancy is lowest. Let me give you one example that cascades down the generations. In Westminster, in the borough of Westminster, 1 in 50 pregnant women smoke. In Blackpool, it's 1 in 4. And this cascades health inequalities down the generations very directly. So the commitment to delivering 4 hometowns, 4 communities, for them to grow and improve and to level up. So with a sense of pride and optimism, this is a vital part of the government agenda, and it is a change of attitude to the conservatism of the past. And of course, the NHS is core to that and is part of the treasured glue that holds communities together. There's something else I wanted to say about this, because I think this was striking in the election campaign, but it's hard to pull out in terms of the polling. And that is the difference between what's happening on the centre-right and in politics right across the world, and especially across the English-speaking democratic world. And that is that the left is increasingly splitting into 2 groups, and you saw it in the chart. And to characterise them, it's the well-off Islington types who have a sort of a socialist left agenda, and then the working class communities who used to support them. And you can see this split in the support of the left right across the English-speaking world. And then the right is increasingly about supporting people who are aspirational for their communities wherever they are in the income distribution. And this is absolutely backed up by your chart. It isn't about how wealthy you are or how well you're paid. It's about how much you want to get on. And that, where previously getting on might mean getting on your bike, now getting on means being part of a whole aspirational community that we want to support to achieve more and achieve their potential. Now, there's a couple of other things that are critical in making this work. And the question of age was one that you brought up in your slides, is very important. Now, it's easy to say that because older people there's a lot of older people who support the Conservatives, that is a problem. I would say that it's fantastic to have the support of so many older people. The question is whether, as people get older, they increasingly support the Conservatives. But you also mentioned the question on pensions, that this was frozen. Too often, I think, in the Thatcher years, too often in the debate, we think about the fact that people are that people are living longer, and the consequences of that as a problem. Actually, it's very good news, especially for the people who themselves are getting older. And if you look at it purely down the lens of a sort of desiccated accountant saying that it's very expensive to the state, all these people claiming their pensions, that isn't how you feel about it if you're one of the people and you want them and you want to go on living a good life for as long as possible. So we need to change our attitude towards that too. But the critical, I think, change in terms of the politics of the 2020s, including how we ensure that we maintain the support that we achieved in many places for the first time, is about delivering for whole communities, not just being aspirational for individuals. And if we think about it that way, then I think we can not only deliver for the communities that now voted Conservative, but also make sure that we dominate the politics of the entire decade. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Matt. Very, very interesting, of course. And when you look at the evidence on people's attitudes to inequality, it is striking that